Hello and welcome to our channel. In this video, we will talk about top 10 saddest moments from the Vampire Diaries. Before starting the video, please subscribe to our channel. Stefan's sacrifice. By the series' end, Stefan was turned back into a human. Happiness looks to be on the horizon for him and Caroline after his humanity returns. But after the events that caused all their dead enemies to return, he makes the ultimate sacrifice to ensure that the doorway is closed. Just before he gives up his life to close the door and let Damon survive to see Elena again, Stefan calls Caroline and tells her he'll be right behind her. They both know it's a lie, but she accepts his promise anyway. The end, the other side. The final scene that finished off the show its entirely had fans sobbing, not only because it meant the end of an incredible show that fans became attached to, but because of the final scene. Elena is back in the cemetery where it all began, but this time in a nurse's uniform. She is met by Damon. Fans soon realize that Elena and Damon are now dead after having lived a long life together. Elena returns to her home welcomed by the family she lost. Damon comes full circle at the Salvatore's house and is greeted by Stefan, who says, "Hello, brother." Elena forgets loving Damon. In the wake of her loss, Elena cannot cope with Damon's absence. She resorts to a magical herb that Luke gives her to hallucinate her dead boyfriend. When that ceases to satisfy her grief and puts her in danger of ripping innocent people apart, she decides the only way to survive is to forget what Damon meant to her. She enlists the help of Rick and his powers to compel away her memories of loving Damon. The moment she admits when she fell in love, the compulsion takes effect and Damon's love is erased. The other side collapses. When Bonnie loses her power of being the anchor to the other side, the supernatural afterlife, the dimension collapses. But she and Damon were still in it when it starts, and they cannot make it back to Mystic Falls to their friends. Damon says his goodbyes to Elena, who tearfully pleads, "Please don't leave me." In one moment, Elena loses both an epic love and one of her best friends. As the other side collapses, the audience sees Bonnie and Damon hold hands, knowing all they have left is each other, and let it go of their past. Sheriff Forbes' funeral. After all the supernatural and magical forces the characters in the Vampire Diaries endured and survived, it's a cruel joke that they'll lose Sheriff Forbes to something as human as cancer. At her funeral, her deputies and officers gave her a traditional send-off, calling her name over the dispatch with no response, claiming her radio number was out of service. After 12 years and 4 months, it's a moment the whole community felt, but none more than Caroline. Damon's eulogy also made the audience cry, as his friendship with Liz was another that blossomed out of hatred. Damon and Alaric's ghosts at Rick's grave. Though Damon started as antagonist in Alaric's life, he soon became the history teacher's best friend. Alaric is another character that died a few times throughout the series, but the first long-lasting death left the biggest impression. In a moment where the audience sees the other side, but the characters left living can't. Damon is seen sitting at Rick's grave, talking to his dead best friend. He tells Rick he stayed to watch over the kids, and Alaric's unheard response is, "I miss you too, buddy." Damon's realization that Catherine doesn't love him. After over a century of pinning and planning to release Catherine from the tomb, it turned out she never wanted to be with Damon. Though she escaped the tomb and fled, her heart always wanted to return to Stefan. It's a low blow to the other Salvatore. As Elena, Catherine's doppelganger, also fell in love with his brother, it seemed the betrothal line was destined to follow Stefan to the end of time. The shattering revelation was seen all over Damon's face at that moment, rendering hearts broken. Caroline's dad tortures her. The Forbes family held a long tradition of protecting mystic fools from vampires. When Caroline became one, her parents' loyalties were split. Sheriff Liz Forbes called in Caroline's father Bill for backup. In an attempt to cure her from her vampire nature, Bill brutally tortured Caroline. Her pain and terror were a trauma many in the audience felt on a personal level. The idea of someone who should love her unconditionally failing to do so when she changed rang all too familiar for those in certain communities. Elena turns off her humanity. Elena deals with a lot of pain and grief in a short period of time. Her biggest loss is when Jeremy is killed by Silas in season 4. This time, his death feels more permanent and shatters Elena's heart. Elena is unable to deal with the loss of her brother. She decides to burn his body along with their childhood home. Elena breaks down as she can't stand the pain and be in a home where all her loved ones have passed away. As a last resort, Elena turns off her humanity in order to cope. Jeremy's overdose. After losing the vampires Anna, whom he fell for right after losing Vicky, the grief was too much for the little Gilbert. The deaths of his parents and friends combined with his new knowledge of the paranormal led him to take his own life after consuming a vial of Anna's blood. His attempted suicide with drug overdose failed though, as the vampire blood he took beforehand healed his wound too quickly to let him die with the blood in his system. The pain of his grief remained. That was all about today's video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.